So, 64 Fairlane vent windows. I'll get them cleaned up, get the new rubber put in, and then I'll clean the polish up or the stainless up and get it polished. The main concern on them is this right here. I'll oil that up and let it be soaking while I'm working on the trim over here, because behind that spring is a machined flat spot on the shaft that helps hold that locked. That way it turns, keeps it locked. When this turns, this is what tightens. You can adjust the tension on these. And because if you leave these loose and you try to open them up going down the road at anywhere from 50 to 60 or 100, however you drive, the wind will blow them back closed. So you have to have these where you can adjust them and tighten them up. They should clean up pretty good. I'll clean them up, paint the frames, and put new gaskets in, polish the stainless, get this working right. I'll go ahead and oil and clean out the holes, or take and run a chaser through, clean up the threads. On this stainless here, this is my front fenders. I'll clean these up, get the red out. I'll fix any dings or dents. I'm gonna bring y'all along for the ride. I hadn't done a video in a while of fixing any trim, so I'm gonna get that back fresh on your mind, because there might be someone that's searching YouTube this morning on how to do it. I'm not a professional at it, by no means. I don't do it every day, but I do know how to do it, and I offer it for my customers so that they don't have to try to ship stuff out of town. And then I'll make new clips for the backs. But I'll get all the red out, get them polished up, and then I'll scuff where the red goes. That way when it's back on the car, I can tape up and paint all the red at one time. So stay tuned. Mama, I got a little tech tip for you. If, like on these vent windows, this spring is always rusted together. The thing has been in the door for years. But if you'll heat that up, and then after you get it hot, or you know, not red hot, but just heat it up good. And then take some WD-40 and drop on the coils like this right here. And let that bubble and work its way down in there. After it cools down, do it again, and that will help free up those rusty bolts without breaking that shaft. This is what I'm talking about. After you've heated it up, see how easy that breaks loose now. It won't, it's a little bit tight, but if you keep wiggling it back and forth a little bit at a time, it'll come on loose. Then you can save that. We have success on this one, Mama. See how the spring is opened up now? It's full of rust. The heat and WD-40 though does the trick. This one over here, you got see if it'll break loose. Oh yeah, it's gonna break loose too. That's the way I do. I just wiggle it back and forth as you breaking that rust and stuff through. The WD-40 and heat really help the process out, because if these break, where am I going to get another set at for a 64 Fairlane? It's not like I can just go out into the city and buy them. All right. So if you know that you've got lacquer paint inside of these, you can take some lacquer thinner, and this is just a gray little Scotch-Brite pad. I think it's equal to about 800 grit or something like that, all that body. But this paint, put some lacquer thinner on it and let it set just maybe a minute, if that. That will clean all that out for you. Now, since I've got all that cleaned out, when I go to polish, that will polish up to really nice. See how easy that was? So after cleaning up these pieces with lacquer to get the red out, I took that 800 or light gray Scotch-Brite pad, that helps scuff it up. It will show you some of the perfections. I like to get my pieces clean and kind of get an idea of what I'm working with. Like take for instance that right there. See that little bitty spot right there at my thumbnail? And that scratch right there. I wouldn't have noticed that with all that dirt and stuff on it. See that little light ding right? See if you can, there's a little dent right there. When that goes painted red, you'll be able to notice it. So I like to clean my pieces up, evaluate what I got. But now I'll get my buffing wheel out and my compounds, and I'll start buffing these things up to a high polish for the first process. And that will completely identify all of my little dents and my little high spots. And I'll get, through the scratches. Sometimes you run across scratches that are harsh enough that you have to take sandpaper, like a 400 grit or 600 grit, and get it out and then polish that grit scratch out. But these here will probably clean up pretty good, other than the little dings. So let's get set up. All right, it's time to get started. Everything is from Caswell Electroplating in New York. These were actually from Harbor Freight, but I bought a kit from Caswell. This is stage 1. This is your coarsest. It will get out, should get out all of the scratches. Maybe some, like I said earlier, I might have to sand on, but then here's stage 2. That will take out the coarse scratch that this leaves. And then stage 3 is a polishing. That will take out the scratches that this puts, but this here will give it a really nice luster polish. I use the white. I actually bought the whole kit that come with every color that they've got, but from what I can experience, the white does the best at all, and it'll show in the end result. Something to be mindful of when you're doing polish and trim. Wear something to cover your face. Wear something good to protect your hands in case this wheel that turns like this pulls that out and it will rip your hand wide open. Plus this right here turning slings all the black dust back into your face. So you need to wear eye protection and a respirator if you're inside with no ventilation. If you're outside, you can make the call on that. For me, I'm doing it right here at my fan, so it will suck the dust out, but I still protect my hands and my face. So, some of you might ask, well, what's the deal with the tape? All right, so when you're polishing, you're under here, and you've got pressure up against that wheel. That's what cleans it. If you slide off of that wheel one way or the other and you hit that steel shaft or that nut, you're going to cause damage right back into the piece that you're trying to fix. So just a couple of minutes of tape, fix some tape on it. When it slips off, it'll hit, and all it'll do is just leave a little bitty, like a blemish, and then the wheel will pull it right back off. So, I'm sure you can see the difference in this. This is the piece that had the small little ding in it. I give it just a little bit of a polish. All right, right there in the light, you can see that little bitty ding. And you think, well, that's not that big of a deal. But once it goes against a black car, this stainless is going to be the focal point. It'll have red in here and it'll have black right behind it, so that's going to bring it out. But this will give you an idea of just exactly what a little bit of work will do. I picked on this nose, to polish this nose just a little bit so that you could get a side by side. This is just a couple of minutes versus where I had just cleaned it up. That's quite a bit of difference. It's gonna look sharp. All right, the first stage of like scratch removal and stuff like just cleaning up. Now I can focus in on, see that scratch and that light little ding right there. It's real light. I'll go through and find every little scratch that needs to be cleaned up. And once I get those spots fixed, I'll go on to round 2 and then finally round 3. But by cleaning them up really, really good, I can identify all of my bad spots that are harder for that first round of polishing to get rid of. Tools needed for the job: little bitty hammers, little bitty tool. So right here on the end of this nose, you can see I've got black magic marker. What I've done was rolled it over and lightly tapped the dent out. And then the scratch was pretty heavy, so I took my little fine file, and then now you can see it's got file marks, but I put some black, some magic marker on there, and then I'll take a little bitty block and 400 and sand that out. So as you can see, I took the little block with 400 grit and sanded out my rough, coarse little file marks. So now I could go up to 600, 800 and on up, all the way up until it polishes out. But I can take it over here to the wheel and clean up those 400 grits with that stage 1 wheel. All right, so I give it a quick polish. What I found on the other side. See that little bitty ding? It's got the black in it. Got to get it raised up. I'll use that right there to raise it up. All right, Mama, that's a wrap. Got the stainless done. Let's push it out here in the sun and see what it'll look like in the sunlight. It's about too bright to look at it. Okay. Well, anyway, that wraps it up for this. The dents is done, fixed, scratches are out, it's been polished, all 3 stages, final buff. Now what I'll do is, like I said earlier this morning, all this in here is going to be red to match the interior of the car. So I'll actually have to tape up the rest of it, leave that exposed, scuff it, and paint it once it's put on the car.